episode, Nobody Beats the House.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items we have, shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Sunday Instagram look back. Is that what we're calling it? I don't know what to call it. So going to take a look at what happened over on Instagram this week. I guess it's better if I share my screen for that. We go live on Sundays to kind of cross the platforms. There we go. So we'll take a look over here on YouTube at what happened over on Instagram. So first off, thanks everybody who's showing up live. We do this stuff live as opposed to just creating videos that would be better produced and have better quality and all that, because I value the interactive nature of the internet. I really like that we're able to communicate here, we're able to share and get together. So I appreciate the people that participate live. Not everybody's able to do that, of course, so we do record the show. It gets rendered into a video after it streams. That video is on YouTube. We usually place this one on some of the other platforms that are gun focused, like guntube.org, super cool platform based in South Carolina, made by shooters, for shooters. It's a firearms focused video hosting platform. We'll post the show over there. We'll post this one on UGETube, another US-based video hosting platform. That one's a little bit more First Amendment focused, but there's a lot of gun stuff there. I've met the owner of that platform, and it's a pretty cool project. Also, Gunstreamer, another video hosting platform, and then a bunch of the others, just standard video hosting platform alternatives that are out there. And give us some feedback if you're listening on one of those in the future. Give us some comments or something, and that lets us know that there's people out there listening. But again, we're doing this live and streaming it. So thanks to Krabby Turtle for jumping in. Keith is out there. She Fires, welcome. Rev, I'm going to say Rev, I guess. CNT and Ron. I think that's everybody right now. If you're out there, and we wouldn't know until you say something, so feel free to say hey. We do have a poll out there. YouTube usually charges big bucks for these polls, but we work with them and said, no, our viewers are more valuable than that. Why don't you let us offer the poll for free? So you can participate in this poll for free. And today the poll is, let me get all that out of there. The poll is Instagram versus YouTube. Who wins? Since we're shoving all this Instagram stuff onto YouTube, neither one of them likes us doing this. Trust me. Like, YouTube hates it. Try posting a video with a whole bunch of Instagram links. I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. Like, I don't mind messing with YouTube, but I don't like hurting my channel. They really don't like it when you flip over like that, when you flip or when you link over. Instagram, same way. I'm really not a fan of people linking to YouTube videos. It happens, of course, but they're competing with each other big time. So they're going to meet on the street. Nobody's looking. It's late at night. Maybe they've been drinking. Who knows? They're both pissed. Who wins? They get in a big fight. YouTube beats Instagram. Seems to be winning right now. And we're on YouTube, so I guess I can understand. It's a tie, 12% of the vote for that. Instagram beats YouTube is losing at 25%. and they both lose. I don't know how they both lose. Maybe they both punch each other in the nose and fall over, or they both try to punch each other and they both miss and they both hit the ground and fall over. That's it. Anyhow, somehow they both lose, only 12%. So at this point, a lot of obvious YouTube bias, but whatever. So the goal here is to take Instagram, the stuff that's good on Instagram, and to shove it all around YouTube, those video hosting platforms I mentioned, and that's pretty much everywhere we shove this. But that's the idea, is to just improve people's reach if possible, and awareness for those people who pay attention to this. In other words, there's two levels. There's the people watching this right now, and then there's the robots that are paying attention to what links to what and who links to who. I don't know why you're building a channel, but I started building my channels a long time ago. Most of my channels started when the platforms started, because I've been around watching these platforms get created. And somewhere along the line, I figured out that you can either coast, you can either throw a boat in the current and float, or you can get some oars or a motor, a rudder or a sail, and you can have some deliberate choices, and you can move yourself in that current where you want to go. And once you figure out that you have that ability, I think you might enjoy the internet a little bit better. You certainly have more, you feel like your time is better spent. And then once you've got ability to navigate and to do what you want and get where you want to go on the internet, a lot of people just do that, and they do that in front of everybody and make a big spectacle out of themselves. I like to reach out and let others figure out how to do that as well. Or if we can't get people to get in their own boat, at least help them get to shore or get together or do whatever needs to be done. So there's lots of ways that we can interact with this internet. And one of them is to remember that there's these spiders, these robots that are watching all the different links. And you can either just observe what's going on the internet, or you can understand that every single thing you do on the internet is tracked and recorded, and you can manipulate the machine by doing things intentionally. So one of the things I do intentionally is take stuff off of Instagram and push it over onto YouTube for the humans. That's this hour-long presentation, or maybe it turns into 2 hours. And then for the robots that are paying attention to the stuff I save, and hopefully bugging people about this, so you realize that you're a part of the internet. You're not just watching it. You are a part, and your decision to do nothing and just observe is what they want. When you start doing stuff on the internet, we create the circulations, right? We start to create the chaotic nature that is less predictable and less trackable. And then they understand everyone understands the power that the individuals have. So hopefully this is working on a couple of levels here. So I got to figure out where we are. So what we're doing is we're going into Instagram, and we're taking a look at a folder on Instagram that everybody has and not everybody uses. You can save other people's pictures in a folder on your channel. And what I'm doing is showing that folder, the last week's stuff in that folder, to my YouTube channel. So anybody can do this. It's not necessary, and there's no obligation to, and I don't even know if it's all that effective, but it's something I do on Sundays. And I like to think it gives us some incremental, some way to keep track and a pulse on everything by giving us a weekly, I'm not sure what to call it, a photograph. Not really a photograph. So I'm trying to talk and type at the same time here, trying to go back about a week. I can't really remember if we talked about some of this stuff. So let's assume this says September 16th, which would have been last Friday. So it's probably a little bit ahead of this. Here's Woods' puppy. So let's start with Woods' puppy. That's a good place to start. So PN Woods, a lot of PNW Woods. I don't know if he's out here right now, but he's often in live conversations. A lot of people have seen his participation out there. That's one of his puppies. So what here happens is see this, something like this, I'll give it a heart. So on YouTube, when you give somebody a heart, it puts you in this list right here, so other people can see who hearted it, right? So it's a virtue signal, and it's also an indication of the person that you like the image. It's very easy to do, but there's something left behind. You have your signature on the page now, or on that post. You can also use the little speech bubble, and that's the equivalent of going down here and leaving a comment. like I could eventually click on this. I don't know why my computer's taking so long. I guess and I could say like good up, and then say post, and now you've created a post on the picture, which everyone can read. People can reply to it. People can even well, like I was going to say, I thought people could send that to people, but I guess not. Anyway, then you can take the thing with the paper airplane here, and that shoves it into another part of Instagram called the circles that last for 24 hours. And it's a whole nother way that people use Instagram. And this is a way to get one of the square pictures over to the circles. And then finally is this little chevron-y badge looking thing. And that's where you have the opportunity to put it in one of your folders. I put it in my main folder, and that's what we're looking at right now. So that's some of the, really, there's only 4 tools of Instagram, and that's the 4 tools of Instagram. And this is the way that I'm using one of the tools. All right, so next we get Stephen Holbrook, who is a writer and a researcher. This is this is like a story from World War II. In Switzerland in World War II, a woman went up to a general and exclaimed, "I must have them back." The general, who had heard this many times, answered, "I know you want your husband and son back." The woman responded, "No, I want my 2 horses back." So the horses were critical to plowing and harvesting, especially to the women who were left to do the farm work, but they were also needed by the army. So back in World War II, they would take your family and your resources so that they could do the stuff. So anyway, I've heard stories like that. You hear them about old timies, and it's kind of funny. All right, so this is Rebecca Schmoy. This is from 6 days ago. So yeah, this is within the week. This is she's from Kansas, and she was in Washington D.C. Says 5 days in D.C. talking to legislators about gun rights, safety, and individual liberty. Came home for an event that night, another event yesterday, work today, door knocking tonight, no time for birthday cake. There's too much to get done before November. This is 43. Happy birthday to me. So first off, happy birthday, of course. And she's one of the superstars, one of the superheroes of 2A. But I'm going to also mansplain that you don't need to be giving people your birthday. Come on, man. Like, you don't need to be using that piece. Use your birth month, and if you need to, a birth week. But you don't need to give people your birthday. I'm going to keep insisting on mentioning that to people. It's not, you're not obligated to offer that information to the world. But again, happy birthday. And thank you for all the hard work you're doing. So see a lot of people in here are giving her the happy birthday back. All right, so next you get Keystone Freedom is a Pennsylvania Second Amendment activist. He came down to the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Arizona back in 2019. He's reposting a gun policy, in other words, FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, who goes by Gun Policy on Instagram. So that's a whole nother conversation about their branding. But so Keystone Freedom, a 2A activist in Pennsylvania, is using the image and the post from Firearms Policy Coalition, one of the national level Second Amendment organizations. And this is a picture of some reenactment people marching with their flintlocks over the shoulder and their trifold hats or whatever those are called. And it says, Pennsylvania, they are trying to ban permitless open carry. Speak up now to stop House Bill 2518, and then they have the URL fpcaction.org. So this is, Pennsylvania is having some stuff, and I guess it's because they're so close to constitutional carry that the people that are against all that must be freaking out and decided that gun ownership is the kind of political pawn or token or whatever that they can, use as a playing piece in their game, a game piece. So, we can't all be available for every state, but some of us have family or businesses or friends in these states. So try to make people aware of them. I like that FPC used a pretty decent picture. It's not great, but it isn't looking up somebody's nostril or something. I like that about it. Next, another one from FPC. This one says another one from Pennsylvania. It goes, in April of 2021, they filed a lawsuit against the state for denial of carry rights to individuals who have had their Second Amendment rights restored following prohibiting convictions, so felons. And then after a brief stay pending the decision of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the loser, we filed a motion for summary judgment and are back in action. So it's not like they've won this case, but because of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association win at the Supreme Court, see how I said that instead of saying the loser's name? It's real easy to say New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. You say it like 5 times and it rolls off your tongue. So we could be saying New York State Rifle and Pistol Association and reminding everyone that that's normal in its existence since like 1907 or something. Instead, we say the name of the loser. Makes no sense. So anyway, because of that New York State Rifle and Pistol Association win at the Supreme Court, the FPC is able to relaunch this Suarez versus Evanchik, I don't know, in Pennsylvania. So that's good to hear. Next one is from Gun Owners of America. I don't always cheer them, but every once in a while they do something. So this says, House Democrats are proposing a 13% ATF increase to pay for amnesty registration, gun registry upgrades, ammunition background checks, plan. I don't know why it says plan at the end. And then annual pay for ATF agents and family if killed or seriously injured. So then it just says all this stuff in the text. Let's swipe. Try to figure out why I posted this. So Gun Owners of America does stuff, and this is one of the things they did. So this is a letter, a strongly written letter to, let's see, Pelosi, Clyburn, McCarthy, and Scalise or something. Scalise. I don't know how they say that one. And I don't know if I said them all. But anyway, 5 people. So they're saying, hey, 5 people, here's a letter. You shouldn't do this. But it's raising awareness, I guess. Also, I'm not a fan of these little cartoon-looking icons all the time. What's folks' feelings on these little cartoon icons all the time that people are using? Let's see. The next one is from Gun Policy. I don't know. Here's the deal. There's a hell of a lot of what's the word? There's a lot of liberty taken in using these old movies. So what we've got here is keep your hands off our gun safety laws. I don't need all these out-of-state litigants coming to try to overturn something that works. And that's, I guess, the lieutenant governor of, the governor of, I don't know. But then they got the Starship Troopers thing with what's his face, mind reading the bug. I don't know. This one's okay, I guess, but I think they're being dangerous with using good movies. If you want to use some obscure movie nobody cares about, nobody cares. But if you're going to use important good movies, in this case, they kind of got it right, but they often get it wrong. And I'm sick of them ruining good movies with their wrong interpretations. Autoloader is from Moon Food from back in the Gun Channels days, and is a photographer, often posts cool images. So one of the things about Instagram that people don't, not everyone plays the Instagram game the same way. So some people think of it as like a news feed. Some people think of it as just a way to show pictures of like whatever inconsequential stuff, their food or their car keys or whatever. And then some people use it as a photography place. Like people share their photographs there. They really take pride in their composition and their, their camera work and their, sometimes their after effects, like the stuff that they do in the software to really enhance the photos, to bring out colors and shapes and contrasts and stuff to really make them pop. So there's people that really get creative on there and appreciate that stuff. And there's people that follow, each of those things. So I don't know how you're using Instagram or how you're interested in, if you're interested in finding out new ways of using it, but there's lots and lots. I've only mentioned a couple here. This really, one of the reasons I guess I'm doing this is to help broaden people's minds about what Instagram might be. Same thing with YouTube. I don't know if people that are Instagram people watch this, but YouTube isn't just a bunch of kids or a bunch of people posting, reviews about whatever they've been bought to make reviews about. Oh, we got DC Project. This is it's a special feeling to be in the nation's capital doing something to safeguard the Second Amendment. And this was from, I think it's from Diana 3 Gun. So Diana Mueller's Instagram, and then it's reposted on the DC Project post. I don't think I can play it because it's a bunch of music, which, it's nice that Instagram plays music on their posts and they let you play music and they don't care because of some agreement they must have with the music industry, but YouTube will copyright you for it. So that's one of the issues when you share stuff from back and forth, is they have different copyright and trademark kind of, deals, the ways they deal with it is differently. So there's a list here of all the different, thank you for the leadership of these strong 2A supporters. So I'm guessing this is a list of, no, I guess it's not. I was going to say, I guess this is a list of representatives. It looks like it's some representatives, but then it's also like 3 Gun Beth, and I'm pretty sure she's not a representative. She's one of the ladies. So, oh, and then it's got a link here that says for providing flashlights. Wow. Millionaire gave them flashlights. That's super nice. And then I guess we'll move on. So this is a slideshow of a bunch of different photos. One of the things you might check out is the first photos of the DC Project from back 7 years ago when they first started bringing ladies to DC to make contacts with representatives and offer the message of education instead of legislation, instead of reacting to things with bad laws, to allowing education and becoming aware of the situation so that they aren't susceptible to being used as political puppets in something that they're just not familiar with and alienating their constituents in the process. So they've done a great job of becoming that new voice for the changing face of gun owners. And if you take a look at their presentation of how they archive their journey and how they archive their visits there, which is pretty neat. You get to see how they're evolving as content creators and photographers, and as they're just becoming more comfortable with the people and the places that they're going to. If you need inspiration or if you're not optimistic, then I'll say again, you're not paying attention. We're looking at a snapshot in 2022 after 7 years of tremendous effort and consistent work by literally hundreds of ladies. And that means their families and the people they work with and the people that they hang out with. And you can see it in the way that they're just casually able to get very impressive photographs and images that portray exactly the kind of accomplishment that they're getting done here. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. The reason I left this up on the screen for a while so people can really get, they didn't just get pictures. These aren't snapshots. They seem like snapshots, but look at these pictures. Look at these pictures. These are super well done. Super well done. Nothing in here is unthought about, not thought about. Every detail is just figured out. Really cool stuff. And that just doesn't just happen. They could all be superstars, which they are, but that's probably the result of a lot of effort and a lot of experience. Here's the same one from Million Moms, posting Rebecca's post. So this is from the Suited Shooterist. No, the Suited Shootist, whatever that is. So that's the guy's name from an interview I listened to with Ryan Shotgun with Charlie a while back. And this is I just thought it was kind of funny. It says, it was hard work collecting all the everyday carry products on the internet, but now I'm finally ready for everything. And this guy's carrying a giant bag full of stuff, sitting on 2 pouches full of stuff, sitting in, carrying a backpack full of stuff. and dragging this big pile of stuff to be ready for anything. And that definitely can happen with the EDC people. I just thought it was a funny cartoon and a way to plug that dude who's coming at Second Amendment and gun content in a different angle. So next we get, and if you want to check out any of these, I don't list them on YouTube anymore because, like I say, YouTube really doesn't like it when you post a whole bunch of Instagram links. So all you got to do is go to our Instagram and click on the saved and just look at our saved stuff. See links to all of these. So this was back from the VCDL, the Virginia Citizens Defense League Lobby Day from 2020. So each year the Virginia Citizens Defense League hosts a lobby day where they go to the legislator and have conversations about gun rights and a rally, and gun owners' rights and a rally. And this was a photograph from 2020 where something like, I forget how many people showed up. I think many, many thousands of people showed up, as you can see. And this is basically kind of during SHOT Show. This was January of 2020. Was this one of the reasons they got mad about assemblies? They were scared because 2020, this was the beginning of a year that was set up to have something like 18 to 24 2A rallies. Constitutional carry was at a record rate of increase. It was at something like 5 states per year were getting constitutional carry. And we know, obviously, we're getting closer to a decision with the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association winning. So people could see that. Is it possible that they stopped people from gathering because of this? I'm sure it didn't help the situation, but it was pretty awesome, inspirational at the time. Were you paying attention in 2020? It's just a question. Some people were, some people weren't, and that was happening right at SHOT Show. So right before SHOT Show. So it was it's tough for people to remember right before all of the craziness started too, because things obviously got drastically different right after that. Let's see. So this is from Guns for Everyone, tip of the day. Find what you suck at and work at not sucking at it, which is really good advice. And if you get to any kind of peak level of performance coaching or whatever, that's all they're going to do, because you've already figured out the basics. Now you're going to figure out what you can't do and keep working on it until you can do it. And there's, just keep following that process. So it's a pretty good tip. I like those kind of things when you see them, especially again when you're thumbing through Instagram and it's a mix of, here's what I ate for breakfast, and here's something that is super awesome, and here's something that's lame, and here's something that I'm trying to sell you, and here's something that we did last weekend, and here's something coming up. It's nice to see just the kind of breaks in the stream to say, just the little messages. I think those things are cool. I think they're worth putting into your strategy if you're got a strategy for your Instagram. So this is NRA. People hate NRA. So this is your time to rage if you've been told to hate the NRA and you can't handle hearing the words NRA. You know who else hates hearing the words NRA? Anti-gunners. Isn't that interesting? So it says, this is the NRA posting this. Be careful. It says, breaking news. 24 attorneys general slam credit card company giants on tracking firearms purchases. So fake news. It's bullshit. It says, be advised that we, what does it say? Be advised, this is the NRA saying, to Attorney General, okay, be advised that we will marshal the full scope of our lawful authority to protect our citizens and consumers from unlawful attempts to undermine their constitutional rights. So, I mean, that's nice and everything, but I think that is given undue attention to that particular situation. But other people may vary. If you've been told to be upset about this, let me know why it's important to be upset about this at a time when we have an assault weapons ban sitting there and people are going to tell us we should be concerned about this. All right, so the next one, remember how I said I like these little messages? Here's another one. Only the mediocre are always at their best. So a lot of people feel like, oh man, I'm not doing as good as somebody, or yeah, I'm not feeling it today, or man, I felt great last time, but this time it didn't work so good, or all the excuses that people that don't do stuff do. that down. Some people insist on having it medium all the time, and those folks are medium. So if your goal is medium, it's easy to achieve. Don't do nothing. But appreciate the folks that are out there putting something at risk and dealing with the ups and the downs. It's worth it. Thanks for Beth. Beth is from USCCA, and why can't I think of Beth's channel? Maybe DJ will know Beth's channel. This is actually her regular channel. I want to put a regular channel up there, or her like personal channel. She has I think she has a regular Instagram for work. This one is from Armed Women of America. That used to be the Well Armed Women. They changed their name this year. How fun, fill in the blank. They're a 10 butt. That's like some new thing that's going around. So NSSF is capitalizing on the trend, and Armed Women of America is reposting the capitalization of the trend, therefore trending the trend. So they're a 10, but they don't bring friends to the range. They're a 10, but they don't practice firearm safety. They're a 10, but they don't strive to be a better mentor to others. So this is some trend where you say they're a 10, but, and then you give them another thing. So this is a 10, but they don't train often enough. So I don't know. Some people are a fan of trend following, and some people are against it. Instagram allows it to happen, whether or not, you know what I'm saying? It just allows it to happen. So I don't know about you, but when I first started watching this, I figured that dog was chewing on his leash and Mike wasn't paying attention. But it turns out he's chewing on maybe a rib, or, yeah, it's probably a rib. I think it's a rib, by the way it's bending. And there's no way that a piece of rawhide is standing up to that dog's bite, you know what I mean? So it's probably something substantial. Anyhow, this is a neat story. I'm going to let you hear this. Hopefully it's long enough, because I am going to go over and check on my 3D print that's printing. So we'll go to this next one and let Mike, from who is a SEAL and a dog handler, who's now a dog rehabilitator for military working dogs, talk about his post here.
I would say one of the more precariously funny instances is I picked up a dog from a West Coast SEAL Team K9 unit, and I went to pick the dog up from the airport, and I was waiting in the parking lot for the better part of an hour, and still, had no contact from the holding unit. And so after sitting there for a while, they finally called and were screaming at me to come pick this dog up. And when I walked in, the dog was on a pallet with the back corner of the crate was completely chewed open, and his head was sticking out of the back, and he was snapping his jaws at every cargo handler that was trying to come anywhere near the pallet. So we grabbed four corners of the crate with him in there like that, and then ultimately loaded him into the back of my SUV that I was transporting the dog back here, which is about a 2-hour trip from the airport. And the entire time I just felt like, Chris Pratt in Jurassic World, where, I'm just waiting for the breath to be on the back of my shoulder. Luckily, he never got loose. There was a couple times where he moved the crate around a little bit, but we managed to get him here and had him for several years before we ended up ultimately adopting him out to a civilian in Florida. I would say one of the more precariously funny instances is.
So Mike's always got stories like that, and during his podcast, you'll hear some of those sometimes. Let's see. So then, how about we don't forget? I don't know if anybody's got a link over here. Here's how you find it. You type in contact senator, right? You put in. Oh, well, how about this? Oh, my computer froze is all. All right, you put in how to contact your senators, and usually you get a link that has the phone number right in it. But you can go in and get the phone number from this paragraph. This is where I usually grab it. So if you go to the U.S. Senator, it always takes you to this page, and then you go down to this paragraph, and it'll say U.S. Capitol switchboard operator can also contact directly with the Senate office, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the number is 202-224-3121. And you can take that message and paste it like this, just like I'm doing. And then I usually get rid of operator. And then I go Capitol switchboard can't get rid of operator because who cares? And then that way it fits in most hex boxes. And then it says US Capitol switchboard can connect you. And then when I put it up on the screen, you can even read it. Nice. And DJ does that also by doing it this way. But he puts the dots at the end, which makes you think, oh, there's more to come. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be ready for more. So I'm not leading anybody on with my post. I'm just straight into the point. And I leave you with the phone number. You can vote on whether or not which format of Capitol Switchboard post is better format, my format or DJ's format. So let's see. So then keeping in mind that you can contact them about 1808. Remember in 1994 when basically the entire House of Congress and Representatives got pulled out of there and replaced, and it was all because of gun control? Well, that didn't happen because a bunch of people were watching the internet waiting for it to happen. It happened because a bunch of people went, what happened right now? And they fired everybody that was in office. So the way that we fire everybody that's in office is to start making phone calls right now so that they start pooping their pants, so to speak. You could say pooping their pantalones. So HR 1808, here's another nostril pic in case you wanted to see what it looks like inside of Biden's mouth. I don't know why they insist on doing it. I feel like now they're just doing it to spite me. But yeah, we can either be part of the constant phone calls, the constant barrage of annoyance, which is all it takes. They're freaking politicians. They want to enjoy their riches. They want to have every day when they come in, their people to say, oh, everybody's happy. Guess what? When you call in and make that not happen, they get pissed and they eventually do something about it. Oh, it looks like I'm getting votes by ending it with a thing. Let's see. So next is, how are you going to fight me with that block of cheese? Because it's extra sharp. You're welcome. This is from Mom at Arms. First off, I feel like mom shouldn't be doing dad jokes, but whatever. And then they did that on Hump Date, so they were being cheesy. Pretty good. All right, so next is Pets for Vets. How many other people posted about this? Anyone? 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 Pets for Vets posted about the 2021 Suicide Prevention Report. So if you'd like to take a look at it, here's the link. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the whole thing from 2020 all the way to the end. And then when I post it in here, it's going to be too long. Plus, nobody wants to read all that. So what I'm going to do is get rid of from report all the way up till the thing there and hit enter, 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 space, space, space a bunch of times. And now there's a gap between the title and the actual link. But now you should be able to link on that. So that's a report that is about veteran suicide from 2022. And this is 2020 data, but it's the 2022 report. And, well, thanks to Pets for Vets, it says they are proud to have many testimonies of veterans changing their mind about suicide due to their connection with their animals that they placed with them. So that's pretty awesome. But if you want to check out that report and question why no one's talking about stuff like that, because it's not sexy, they don't get views, and they don't probably, you know what I'm saying, they're not really giving a shit. Let's just say it for real. Next up is Pima Air. So there's a museum here in Tucson that has a bunch of airplanes. Is it better than the National Air Museum over in Ohio? No. But is it the second best one? Yes. And I'll fight anybody who says. You can go up and touch the airplanes here in Tucson. There's a ton of them. They move them around. They have great pride in the airplane museum. There's A-10s flying overhead constantly. The what do you call them? I guess it's the Blue Angels fly. No, not the Blue Angels. The Thunderbirds fly around here every other year. I mean, this is definitely an airplane town. The A-10s, this is where they fly. They've got F-16s here that fly around. They do battles up in the skies over Mexico, over the international border with Mexico. We've got I think they're F-16s up in Phoenix. They never come down here though. And then we've got the graveyard. So the graveyard is all the airplanes you see in all the movies. Half of those are boneyard. They're dead. They're just for parts. But the other half is the third largest standing Air Force in the world, and that is all of our planes from past needs, where all we did is basically put a sun visor in the window, and every 5 years we fly them around, or some schedule we fly them around. So in Tucson, we've constantly have airplanes flying above us because they're flying the boneyard planes constantly. So it's definitely an airplane town, and we've got Boeing, or not Boeing, what do we got? I don't know what we got, Northrop or Lockheed, or somebody makes missiles here. So we've got a lot of aviation and a lot of engineers and a lot of interest in airplanes. And then a lot of Air Force people retire here. Remember, there's 18 9-kiloton intercontinental ballistic missile silos in Tucson also. And a lot of the people that built those and that manned those and decommissioned them moved here because it's freaking awesome here. And all the other ones in Kansas and Arkansas flooded. So there's very little reason to have one of the silos in the other states. Anyhow, so we got a lot of aviation in Tucson. So we have this cool museum. And on November 12th, which is plenty of time, if you happen to be in Tucson, because I'm going to narrowcast Tucson stuff often because I don't care, I'm in Tucson. There's going to be a paper plane airplane fly-off, or a great paper airplane fly-off. So basically they take and fly paper airplanes. They do it inside so that the wind's not a factor. And it's for kids, obviously. And it's pretty cool. So just a way for kids to get and, get into science and have a competition, individual, yet still, competing with other kids, getting out there with, less things like scouts or whatever out there. It's cool to see stuff like this. Plus, it's just neat. I can't imagine having a cooler place to fly paper airplanes than right next to an SR-71 and an A-10 and the other planes that are in that room. Pot of Gold Auctions is where we've got a bunch of stuff, including some stuff coming up this next week. I'm not going to play the music, but I thought this was pretty cool. I think they just started doing this. At least this first time I've seen them do this, but they started doing an after action and letting people know what some of these awesome things sold for. And, some of these prices are probably super high and some of them are super low. But again, you can't ever tell in an auction, and it's so fun. So seeing the results is really cool. And look, Cheryl gave it 4 tacos. It also probably gives people some, inspiration of like, oh man, I didn't know they sell that kind of stuff. So pretty cool. I think that was a great idea. Let's see. Next is from Walk the Talk America. The NSSF partners with Veterans Affairs on suicide prevention. And then there's this article, and it says the firearms industry is more involved in suicide prevention than ever before, but we need support from the manufacturers. Let's go. So this is a report from NSSF talking to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So NSSF is the industry liaison, and they're talking to Veterans Affairs and about suicide prevention. We all know that suicides are the leading cause by 2 to 1, the leading cause of death from firearm. So no matter how much violence there might be in the country, the only way they're able to suggest that there's a lot of violence is when they include 60% of gun deaths, which are suicide. So if they say suicide is violence, then it works. But if they don't include suicide as violence, then they're obviously bullshitting the numbers. So this is talking about veterans who are most of suicide, or a chunk of suicide, if not most of suicide. So I just don't understand it. So I'm hoping to see a lot more unity in the awareness and prevention side of things. We obviously don't need clicks and circles, right? So next up is a cool conversation that happened this week is a town hall. I guess they're calling them. Call it like a round table. But I guess what's the difference between a town hall and a round table? I guess a town hall is when the questions come from the audience and the people on the panel address the audience, and a round table is when the people on the panel address each other. Or am I wrong? So I guess this was a town hall. So they had 7 ladies on and talked about some of the questions you might expect to hear from a bunch of ladies in 2022. All these people that are new gun owners are new. So they're going to ask these questions, right? They're the first questions you're going to ask. So we got to spend, for those of us who've been around a while, we have to wait about 5 years before everybody's asking cool questions. Right now, they're asking all the like normal beginning questions. Everybody's getting through their intermediate or their basic and intermediate levels. But they'll start to specialize and they'll start to have a lot more fun. We're going to see a lot more interesting gun shows, I'm thinking, in the next couple of years. Anyway, this was a great conversation. Definitely worth checking out. One of the things I thought was cool about it was they did a intermission in the middle, and I need to start doing that, especially on my longer shows. Speaking of that, I'm going to take a cue from them and post or take a second here, take a swig of coffee, encourage you to do something that you want that would give yourself a refreshment. And then we're going to talk about a show that we do on Saturdays with Clover and Tony.
AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007. And since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
So we go live on Saturdays to answer questions as longtime gun owners, I guess lifetime gun owners, and we're old, so longtime lifetime gun owners. And, we're all interested in different things, and we're from different parts of the country, and we've had different life experiences. So when people ask the questions, hopefully they're getting, a nuanced answer. So feel free to ask them. You can go to AskGunQuestions.com. Let's see. The next one is from Rick Ector. He's been posting a bunch of stuff. So I don't know what Rick's deal is, but he's been reposting all kinds of people's videos. And I don't know if it's like a thing he puts on his schedule or if it's just happenstance. I'd like to talk to him about it sometime. But Rick has been around for a while, and he's got one of the more interesting, and I wonder, it must be effective, but one of the more interesting strategies and what's the word, like, well, it's not just strategies, but like he's actually done more interesting things than almost anybody else. I'd have to think for a minute about who's done more interesting ways to use the internet and other media. He's very multimedia, but he brings all that stuff to the internet. So there's probably some marketing firms and stuff out there that might be as creative and able as Rick, but I'd be surprised if they aren't following Rick. He's freaking wicked when it gets to cross-platforming. What I'm doing here is emulating what Rick does casually, and he's been doing it forever. So this is him talking about a podcast he did with the National Gun Show, about the National Gun Show on a podcast, and then he's on the board for the NRA Board of the Directors right now. Yeah, right now I don't know, like if he just had it saved up or if it was he had an opportunity to do it or what. Let's take a quick look over at the poll. I do appreciate the people that join us live. I mentioned that earlier in the show. Let's take a quick second to say thanks to everybody. If I'm missing anybody who came along and said something, I seen Baron is out there now. Baron and Foss do an overnight show every other Saturday and each Wednesday. Worth checking out. A lot of fun. Ron Wayne is out there. Did I say hey to Ron? Well, I'm saying hey to Ron again. Misty, Mrs. Wayne. Is that Mrs. that Wayne? Welcome. And then if I'm missing anybody, let me know. Notice that we're broadcasting on the main channel, but also on the Daily Gun Show channel. So in my feed, everything that gets posted 3 times. The main channel, our Daily Gun Show channel, and then the Twitch feed. Twitch is like another platform that people use when they're using the video games, and they can use that to record their video games and to chat with each other. So we put it over there because it's a kind of a backup. It's a second place to put the stuff, right, to archive the videos, but it also hopefully gets it out there to people that may not be going to YouTube to look for content. And it, hopefully we're offering this kind of stuff and what we're talking about here to the people over there. All right, next we're talking about Wilderness Tactical. Our friends up in Phoenix area. They make US made nylon gear. So unlike most garbage that you see, which I have no tolerance for, which is garbage made in other countries with garbage materials, and it's almost always a design that's ripped off from somebody who actually does something. So somebody is either a mountain climber or a backpacker or a door gunner or a pilot or a scuba diver, and they go, hey, can you make this thing do this instead of that? And then an actual nylon designer will go, well, if I fold it a different way or if I cut it differently, yeah. And then, or if I make it out of this nylon instead of that Velcro, sure. And now it exists, right? Well, one of these rip-off companies will see it and they'll just start making it, and then a bunch of chumps get paid or get given the gift and start saying how great it is, and like, oh, I don't care that it smells like urine, or I don't care that it's made out of garbage that'll fall apart in 2 years. Like, I'm getting it for free, so who cares? And I get a 10% cut every time some sucker buys one. Unlike any of that, this is a company that just makes not very compliant, so US made materials in the USA up in Phoenix. They've been making belts forever called Wilderness belts. I didn't say they invented all belts, but they were making nylon rigid holster level quality belts forever. And I've been wearing one personally for, I don't know, so that's the only belt I've ever had is Wilderness belts. But anyway, they're a cool company. And one of the things they do is an ankle rig that can be used for first aid stuff. So a lot of people who carry first aid on the regular, that carry first aid daily or very regularly, will use an ankle system to do that, so that they don't have to have something on their belt or in their pockets. You can take a tourniquet and a gauze bandage, a pressurized bandage, the two things you really only need. Sometimes some masking tape or some duct tape kind of rolled over a credit card can be improvised with the packaging from the gauze to be a chest seal, but really you can use so much things to improvise a chest seal. You just need some tape for that. And in this case, they have a multi-tool, so that might be a little overkill for some people, depending on your interest in carrying around a little extra weight on your ankle. But for almost no weight and just minimal bulk, what you end up with is a very comfortable thing that disappears in your daily life the same way a watch would, like a wrist watch, or a pair of glasses like sunglasses, or the way that you'd forget you're wearing a hat. Most people don't realize because they've never done it, but if you wear something around your ankle, then you forget that you've got it on and you just live your life. And if you wear pants on the regular, you can easily carry something inconspicuously around your ankle. And unless you're walking through water or it's rainy season or something like that, then carrying first aid gear is an option that a lot of people use. So if you're serious about carrying around a tourniquet, if you've got people around that you care about and they may do something that involves bleeding out, carrying something like a SWAT tourniquet, which is one of my favorites. It's basically a giant flat rubber material, like almost like a flat rubber band, and that's used to be a compression tourniquet on pets, kids, fingers. Like, it can be used on very small diameter things, unlike most every other tourniquet. Sure, it's not the best for a fat dude's thigh, but you know what? Good luck with anything on that. So there's things that are going to work, and there's things that are going to work on children and pets. I carried the thing that works on tiny things. But anyway, everybody's got their own strategy for first aid, and Wilderness offers this awesome little bag thing to put your ankle rig into. So nobody's even paying attention. Watch who comes out with this next. This is a real item being made for CCW people that EDC first aid gear, right? And they think, okay, I'm going somewhere and I got to put on my fancy tuxedo with the skinny ankles, so I can't wear my tourniquet and crap. So where am I going to put it? I can just leave it sitting in the hotel room, or I can put it in this nice little bag, or I can leave it sitting in. I'm going to be going out and getting my ankles all wet while I'm out here training. I'm going to take my first aid stuff off my ankle and put it somewhere. Where can I put it that's going to be rugged and reliable? Oh, I'll put it into this small bag and attach it to my gear. Now I still have the stuff with me, but it's not on my ankle. It's freaking awesome. So I don't know how much it costs, but I'm more than happy to give Wilderness a big plug. They make USA made stuff here in the USA with quality materials. They get copied by other people, but they're getting it done. Mike is saying I'll be off the internet for 3 days starting Tuesday, going to California to vacation. Right on. Have fun. I don't think I can play the video for this. Wait. Yeah, there's no way I can play the audio. There's some audio here, but I think you can get the message here. Can I make this bigger? I forgot if I can make this bigger. I can make it a little bit bigger. I think you get the message here. Some photographer went around and took pictures of kids live in horrible situations, and then kids live in luxury situations, and juxtaposed them, cross-hatched them. I don't know what this is called, but literally cut them to where, there's probably a word for what that's called, where it looks like they're part of the other one. Really interesting. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on here. And I don't think there's a political thing here. I mean, who can be against the idea that there's a massive difference in the world, right? This is illustrating or showing the massive differences that are in the world. Now, if you want to throw somebody's at fault here, or something easy is at blame, I think that's the default to people that look for easy answers. But this is powerful stuff. So anyway, I thought I'd post that one. That's from Diana Diana Mueller. Oh, thanks for posting the link to Wilderness. I appreciate that. Like I say, they don't really sponsor nothing, but they have in the past. They have helped us out with projects. They've been awesome. So, and I've always worn their belts. I've always just bought them. Let's see. This is an awesome one from a dude was in Delta Force. So the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. So don't let other people tell you what you know, right? And it's easy for the internet to seem like there's a lot of know-it-alls out there, but there ain't. That's the answer. There ain't. Now this is Mike. So Mike Panone is pretty awesome. He was in Delta and he did some stuff, and he's an instructor and he's active and he's online, and he's, all the guys that are from Delta that do stuff online do it a little bit differently, and Mike's is definitely the same. He's similarly different or similarly unique, but the way that he reacts to and addresses not so much trolls, but like people with ideas that are contrary to real life, I guess is the way to say it. There's a lot of opinions on the internet based on people's theories on movies, maybe, or inexperience. So people with experience have different ways of dealing with the internet, and Mike's way of dealing with it is very interesting. So he's having a conversation. This is part of a bigger conversation about people who suggest that there's a way to train for an ambush. So if you think about the definition of an ambush, being caught by surprise when someone else intended for that to happen, something like that, training for that's a real question. So while a lot of people are going to say, hey, should you do this or that, realize there's people at different levels having different conversations. One of the reasons I like Instagram is it can give you a glimpse at the different conversations. It's sort of like walking through SHOT Show. You'll be walking through the aisle at SHOT Show and you'll hear somebody talking about their gun shop. You walk a little bit further and it's somebody talking about their camera. Walk a little bit further and it's somebody having some kind of an arrangement, some kind of business arrangement. You walk a little bit further and it's just somebody talking about how tired their feet feel and wish they could sit down. And you walk a little bit further and it's another conversation that's at the top level of strategy of how we're going to deal with gun rights or something. And then you walk a little bit, very rarely. I mean, we're at SHOT Show, so you don't hear that conversation very rarely. I'm trying to pick the different conversations, but you definitely have this kind of ability to overhear or eavesdrop on a bunch of different conversations that are happening out there, especially with some of the valid accounts by real people, not the show-off accounts that are fake, designed to entice you over to buy stuff, but the people that are just using their accounts as a way to share with their friends and maybe their alumni, or when maybe their students or something, or maybe their friends or something, but they're just using it as like another tool in their inventory. But most of the people are primarily dealing with stuff in real life, and they just use their socials as effective ways to get information, like a picture, out to a bunch of people. So a lot of times those channels will say, here's the picture I was talking about in class, notice the guy with the white hat. And then that's all they'll say in the picture, and everybody else is going to just not really know what the picture is about. But again, you're kind of overhearing, you're kind of eavesdropping the kind of conversations that people are having. Instagram is interesting for that if you decide to follow people who aren't just showing off for you. I mean, if you just follow people that are acting, you're going to see what actors want to tell you. We got gun policy coalition talking about Attorney General Bonta launches Office of Gun Violence Prevention. So I just figured I'd post this one. I'm sure you've already heard about it a bunch. Now, what I was kind of curious about is this whole thing that's like bolded. I'm not sure how the bold happened. I was just kind of reading through this and I noticed the bold stuff is weird. And I'm wondering if FPC made it bold. Okay, it kind of makes sense. But if the California Attorney General made it bold, it's creepy. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it. So basically, they're getting or they're seeing the lack of their effectiveness of their one type of infringement, so they're rebounding to another type of infringement. If everyone assumed that because we got a good Supreme Court case that the antis would be reformed, that would have been delusional. So this shouldn't be necessarily specifically anticipated, but the concept of the states who have been the worst infringements or infringers not going down easy should have been obvious. And I think some of the more insightful commentary as the whole New York State Rifle and Pistol Association decision was coming down, or becoming, coming imminent, people would say, hey, we may have a win here, but it doesn't mean that we're done. I dig real people as far as I can stand people. Right on. At least if you're going to spend your time, which is valuable, listening to people on the line, you might as well listen to people that have something to say as opposed to people that are trying to do something with what they say. So the 10 hidden gun control provisions. So we got a Gun Owners of America posting this slideshow, another PowerPoint. Have you seen what Congress is up to this time, big eyes? Anti-gunners are prepping a funding bill that has at least 10 gun control provisions in it. I guess it's a smiley face that has its mind exploding. Make your voice heard and tell Congress to reject more gun control at 202-224-3121. I don't know if you're a fan of writing phone numbers with periods in them, but where the fuck does that come from? Seriously. Is that Europe? Maybe South America puts a dot in there? Like in America, we put a dash in there, buddy. So 202-224, but whatever. I always get picky with Gun Owners America. They only compromise once. So let's take a look at their spreadsheet or their PowerPoint. 10 hidden gun control provisions in Congress annual government funding bill, HR 8256, and I don't know what H repent means, but 117 to 395. So it must be some other portion of something. But a massive ATF budget increase to facilitate Biden's pistol ban. So that's super critical. Definitely don't want them to be able to afford to fund the bureaucracy needed to enact their bullshit rule change. So definitely important to not let them have a budget for this. Gun registration funding seems like a stupid sentence, but of course we don't want that. So is that a Scandinavian thing? Scandinavia is Europe, so they should act like they're just an island in Europe, then okay. But if they act like they're something, I can see why they don't want to be Europe, but they shouldn't have grown their island right next to Europe if they didn't want to be Europe. Gun confiscation law funding. I don't know what that means, so want to hear more about that. Financial benefits for families of deceased ATF agents killed or injured. I mean, I get the concept, but I don't know. Getting mad at funding families is weak. Ammunition background check study. Yeah, that's bullshit. And this is a way around the Dickey Act. So the Dickey Act is when a bunch of doctors saw that the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, in like the 90s, 90 something, were funding bullshit studies so that they could double down on how bad guns were. And the doctors forced the issue. There was a thing created called the Dickey Act, and that slapped the CDC and said you cannot do partisan research, quote unquote. You can't create research and call it good to go when you've got a partisan motive. So that's now why everybody's, the other side, the anti-truth advocates say the CDC isn't allowed to do gun control studies. Well, they're not allowed to do bias gun control bullshit. They're allowed to do any studies they want. And when Obama tried to forget that narrative and do a study and found that there's no reason for gun control, that it's you're less safe when there's gun control infringements in place, they discounted the study, right? They discounted the CDC. So the ammunition background check study sounds like some sort of probably funding some other department to do it so that they can take what they would have wanted with the CDC accreditation and give it to some other department and pay for it. And a lot of this gun control bullshit is because they know that it's a rift. They know that the lack of awareness of gun ownership, they know that there's people that hate guns or hate Trump and hate guns because they think Trump owners like guns or something. So there's these people that are just super political, but then there's people that are just hating guns for whatever reason. They don't like somebody, that person like guns, they hate guns, period, for the rest of time. And there's going to be that rift, and the politicians are playing that. And every time you get the anti-gunners and the gunners riffing off each other, especially when there's consequences, so they have to hate each other because there's something at stake, well, then we're not complaining about the border, and we're not complaining about the economy, and we're not complaining about what else they shouldn't have their hands on. We're paying attention to the thing that we feel is important. So it's not that it's not important, it's just that we've got to be multitask or be able to be multitask. So in this case, what we're looking at is the stupid ass bureaucracy trying to create more funding so that they can create a study somewhere in the bureaucracy, come up with the conclusions they want so that they can cite that bullshit results, and give it whatever accreditation they can, saying, oh, this was done by the Department of something or the, Secretary of so-and-so. So this is bullshit, and we definitely need to end this. And I don't think the way to do it is the fifth slide in a PowerPoint necessarily. Gun control research unbound by the Dickey Amendment, which is pretty much what I just said. So it's just, I don't know what this means. Is that the last one? Why is there an arrow here? No, I'm frozen. Violent anti-government ideology research. And I guess that's, the idea of marginalizing gun owners, segments of gun owners into extremists, roles, or calling them extremists or whatever they're going to do, further divide and further keep people from uniting. Then you've got gun control earmarks. What does that mean? So domestic violence, firearms lethality reduction initiative. Well, that sounds stupid, so obviously it's ridiculous. I can't imagine what that could be. Anti-gun community violence interventions. So this could be good, but it probably isn't. And more than likely it funds one of the branches of Bloomberg's entities to pay him back for whatever he's not getting in funding. And then that same one. So here's the other thing. Let's take a look at what we got over here. Oh, I thought these were spams. It's just a bunch of FJBs. Is that, you know what I'm saying? Is everybody satisfied? Tens of millions of dollars a year. And an Instagram post with 2,000 something likes and a whole bunch of comments, but most of the comments are, bad, 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 I hate, FFF, right? We're past talking. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Agent. So, having a bunch of federal agents show up and try to instigate, I don't know. Is it bait for agents? Is it agent bait? I don't know. Some people are not going to question. They're going to say, give them your $30 because I get a $10 cut. And we need, people that are losing faith in the NRA to join organizations, and they feel like they should only join one. Or maybe it's some other reason. Let's go to the next one, which is a friend in Mexico who makes these tiny guns. And they're not real, but they look real. and he makes them. I think he's some kind of a doctor, and he does these things for small procedures and things. And because he's got these skills, he makes these tiny guns. Cool dude, and yeah, I can't get enough of that little Uzi. The Armed Gardener, another photographer, using the Instagrams for the photography, which is pretty awesome. And people that do it with some flair and some style, I don't even like red dots, but this one's pretty good. So anyway, Armed Gardener is pretty fun to watch on YouTube as well. He usually posts his video, at least the videos I see, maybe do more than what I've seen, are usually focused on something going on in the garden, and he's got a gun in it, or it's something about a gun, but he's doing it in the garden. So I dig it. And I was saying guns and flowers should be a trend. Like, with all the girls out there, how come we don't see more guns and flowers? Well, nobody makes goat guns. Somebody buys guns from China and then puts the goat labeling on them. But yeah, that guy is also out there. But this is a guy one dude from Mexico. He makes that one gun. Like, he made a single specimen. This is a guy just making art. Goat guns is a guy buys guns you can get from China and rebrands them. You can buy those, by the way, if you really wanted to get them super cheap or something. Just go to China and buy 6 of them or something. You get them about half price. I don't think you're allowed to say that, so I won't say it. I'll definitely I guess I'll never get a goat gun. Next up is National African American Gun Owners Association is following up on their project. So not only do they put out some of the best presented ones, like their panels have been actually there to be on point, and they're actually talking about stuff. And because they're not huge, they don't get a bunch of spam type of stuff, so they don't get distracted by the garbage yet. I'm sure it'll happen once they get larger. But in addition to putting out awesome, focused, well done roundtables, which I can't even get enough of them. Like, say, I watch not all, but I watch a lot of the different stuff that's happening at the national and state levels, and a lot of it isn't worth talking about because it's super boring or super specific. They do a great job. And then additionally, I mean, everybody promotes their stuff ahead of time. That's kind of a given, and some people do it better than others. Some people do more of it than others. So some people are better at it and, have more results than others. But I haven't seen too many people offer a post like this. Last night, a panel of Black women gave you their perspectives on gun ownership. We want to know what you thought about it. And that's awesome. Like I say, that's cool. Too many people do and then move on. I think it's awesome, and it's a reason I put it up here. It's awesome that they offered a way for people to offer commentary after a day of letting it soak in. And you post something live like that for an hour, it's nice to know that some people are going to show up. I mean, we've got Mike White out there right now. Patriot showed up. Defense Dad. I guess I should be clicking on it, right? Defense Dad is out there. Guns and Water. And if I'm missing anybody, I think I said Misty already. So welcome to everybody who's showing up live. It's awesome when people show up live. And when you do something on a regular schedule, it's possible for people to show up live, right? But when you put something out there kind of, just randomly or once occasionally or whatever, then expecting the live people to be your only feedback is forgetting all the people that show up moments after and then weeks after and everything in between. So the idea of having requesting feedback, and at the same time, it's letting people know it happened, but requesting feedback, awesome. And then again, look at all the response they're getting. So cool to see. And if you're paying attention to the different organizations and the different work that's being done out there from, let's say, the bird's eye view, you see that there's not just progress being made, but progress being made at different rates by different groups. What the hell was that? That was the biggest mosquito I've seen in a while. So Triggerology, friend from California, instructor, Second Amendment activist, posted this. As a Marine vet and two-way instructor familiar with the M16 and many weapons platforms, I can unequivocally state that vets and active military have zero business telling you what weapons you can own. Zero. Same for politicians and celebrities. None of them will be there to save you. I like the sentiment, and I don't post stuff like that, but at the same time, I'm not an instructor, and I'm not getting. He goes and he responds to stuff. He'll, somebody will post something stupid, and he'll respond to it. So I'm sure he's on a totally different set of radar than I am. So that means when he posts something, he's got a bunch of people with a grudge, from different angles. I usually talk shit about people that just talk and don't do nothing. So they're not going to talk shit to me. You don't see anybody actually talking shit to me because they can't. But when you're talking shit to people who talk shit for a living, then you're going to get shit talked back to them. But so he's got a lot of these people that once he talks shit to them, they're going to sit there waiting for him to say something so they can come back at it. And, probably, that's what they dig. That gives them attention or whatever. So anyway, he's got a little bit different situation going on there, but I like to promote his stuff when I can. And the concept here is valid. There's a lot of people who give undue authority or I don't want to say respect, because you can give respect to somebody, but you give them undue, like you give them too much credit for knowledge. Like there's just not a lot of firearms use in general in the military, very, very little. So people that claim that they know something because they've been a veteran, it's almost the sure sign that they're bullshit. So next up, I'm just going to shut up for a second, let you absorb this, and I'm going to go check on my 3D print. You're welcome. So the people that didn't realize what they just saw, I'm going to now fill up my dog's food bowl or water bowl so you can watch this again. Knowledge is power. You're welcome. Going to the next one. There's some awesome stuff on Instagram, and Ed's manifesto is definitely worth checking out. Oh, is this worth listening to?
If we were the problem, you'd know it.
I guess they had Barron do the NRA ad.
Have 415 million guns. Folks, if we were the problem, you'd know it. Legal gun owners have 415 million guns. Folks, if we were the problem, you'd know it.
Okay, aside from the fact that they got Barron to do their narration, what do you think of this new NRA deal? Just somebody wiggling a sign that says protect the Second Amendment, right, in front of the White House. And then it says new study in highlighted, legal gun owners have 415 million guns. And then it says underneath of the picture of the guy wiggling the sign, if we were the problem, you would know it. What do you think of that? This is the new NRA marketing. I kind of dig it. And I mean, it's obviously an old bumper sticker. I wonder how many people are going to go, oh, snap. NRA came up with a new tagline. That'll happen. But yeah, it's true, right? Like, I really like this concept. I like it when it's presented in such a way that it doesn't feel like a challenge or some sort of like, like a threat or something, or can be. You got to remember that when people are super soft, they think of things as threats that regular people are like, oh, that was just, reprimanding a dog or something. Like, that's not threat level. That's just like being not quite angry. But anyhow, I thought this was interesting, worth posting. I'm going to unclick it because it's the NRA. You don't have to give them a bunch of extra effort until they get rid of Wayne, right? So here's gun policy disrespecting the old man that's our president. And I forget what he's saying in here. Let's find out what he's saying in here.
I did once before when I was a senator. Assault weapons Sam, just salt and pan. There's no rationale. Deer aren't running through the woods wearing Kevlar vests. Well, I'm not going to.
So let's say that you never went to work in your life and you just went to school and you started hating people and hating the government and hating the way of life and shit. And then you went to school and you learned that a bunch of communists figured out a way to throw rocks at glass buildings and, pretty effectively, mess with systems and shit. So then you get into the political system and you start figuring things out and gaining all kinds of whatever shit happens, knowledge and favors and whatever has to happen to become, successful at being a politician. And then you, throughout the ways you figure out the most effective ways to market and to sway people's opinion of things and to keep people from attacking you by messing with them and screwing them off. And then by, lying to the certain people that aren't a threat. And then let's say you just get really old doing that. And then let's say you say the same thing over and over. Who's the dumbass? The person who knows exactly what he's saying or the people that spin out of control every time he says it? I don't get this. Like, if a fucking person wants to play the puppeteer, then why the fuck do you care where the strings are? Just make sure the strings ain't touching you. But you don't go fiddle with the strings and then laugh that you're doing what they want. That's doing what they want. I don't like doing what they want. So I don't get this whole let's harp on him caring about Kevlar vests. Anyway, so then we get to Cake Gunworks, an awesome gun shop in Massachusetts, outside of Boston, in effectively the peninsula of Massachusetts. They got a fancy name for it. And they've got a food truck now. So like a lot of gun shops who are looking for ways to offer more reason for people to show up at their shop, give more, provide more service to the people that are there. Let's say you're taking a class, or at this shop, let's say you're there for one of the special events, or when the radio stations come and do their broadcasting from the facility there, then you want to have a reason for people to not have to book out of there, make food convenient, make good food convenient. And then for the people that just show up to shoot, you want to shoot and spend some time at the range, knowing you can go out and get something to eat, especially when it's a nice day. They got that lake there and you can look at the airplanes or whatever. So that's awesome. Now they take their food truck and they drive it around to different locations. So they're getting the Second Amendment and their gun shop out to different events in town. I think everything about that is awesome. Now, if there isn't resource in a gun shop to have their own food truck, because not every gun shop is going to be able to do that, think about the collaborations that could be done with existing food trucks and existing gun shops. Let's think outside the box. Let's talk to our gun shops and our food truck operators and say, hey, don't I see you at the range? Like, what if you hung out at the gun shop on a Saturday? Would that work? I'll tell you, it does work, because I know a whole bunch of shops that do stuff like that. So a big thing, food and guns. There was even a channel back in the olden days. There was a channel called Guns and Barbecue. Remember those days? And that was a good mix. Barbecue was lame, but the food part of it, like they should have a channel called Guns and Food, and then it would be more inclusive. The barbecue is very exclusive to those that don't like barbecue. I think that channel's still kicking. I think that channel still might be out there somewhere. Next, we got Gun Culture 2.0. This is Professor Yamane, and here we go. So Professor Yamane having a class with this guy, Randy, from the Liberal Gun Owners. I said it. So this is the professor doing the sociology of guns class, and he's got a guest speaker from the Liberal Gun Club. All right. And then it says, was pleased to have Randy, I don't know how to say that name, of Liberal Gun Owners. Sorry, not Liberal Gun Club. Liberal Gun Owners and Liberal Gun Club are two different things. I'm figuring out there's more than one Liberal Gun Club, gun organization online. So from Liberal Gun Owners, speak to my class about the deep evolutionary roots of the human-weapon relationship. A truly unique perspective explaining why membership in the Homo sapiens projectile club is so common. Only one comment from Pincus. And then if you read this thing, it says the sociological, anthropological, Synthesis for Projectile Weapons University. The human, no, I don't know what it says. Something synthesis. And then it says, guns are normal. Normal people use guns. Projectiles are a cultural universal. And then it says contemporary society. So I don't know. I'm guessing that none of y'all have ever seen a slide that says the sociological anthropological synthesis for projectile weapons universality. I think that's what it says, not university. Universality. And yeah, there you go. So there's some people that are like, I could never get into reloading. Like, reloaders are such nerds. Yeah, right. First, talk to somebody who shoots 1,000 yards plus. Right? Somebody that shoots like at a mile, and then go talk to people who break down the sociological anthropological synthesis for projectile weapons universally. It's worth watching stuff. So that's the kind of stuff you can see on Instagram. A lot of people won't even pay attention to this stuff. I guess you don't get a bunch of views when you talk about the sociological anthropological synthesis for projectile weapons universality or whatever. I wonder if he's ever going to have anybody on from, like, I don't know, regular person that's into guns who can actually tell you stuff, like maybe some old guy from a gun show. That'd be cool. NAGA has a deal where they post questions every once in a while. Now, I'm not saying they're ripping off the tactical quiz, because I built the tactical quiz so that others would be inspired to actually do stuff like that. So I'm going to just take credit for this. But it's their Facts on Friday, they call it. The M1 rifle is a semi-automatic rifle that was the service rifle of the U.S. Army during World War II and the Korean War. Did you know? Oh, so I guess it's a fact. I was thinking it was a question. I guess if it's a fact, they can use it. They can do it without my credit. I thought it was the trivia question that they did. But anyway, yeah, so I guess there's some people out there that don't know stuff like that, right? And I never think about that. So it's cool that other people are thinking about it and telling people about it. I should have patented guns back in '92. Nice. Oh, guns and... I have found that reloaders are very smart and self-sustaining. I saw them hack G System and steal this idea from him. Let's see. So next up is from the Green Beret Foundation, the executive director, this dude, and donor relations manager, this lady, are standing with Green Beret recipients, 2 guys from Nam and then 2 guys from Afghanistan. So 4 Medal of Honor recipients are Green Berets that are currently living. Well, they're in this picture. Let's see. So Let's Go Hunting USA. American hunters founded the wildlife conservation movement. This core community is still driving much of the movement today, but facing an issue with declining participation. The recruitment, reactivation, and retention of hunters is essential in keeping our biggest conservation effort and natural heritage alive. You can contribute by joining the +1 movement. That's weird. +1 movement? It sounds super weird. I don't even want to be part of a thing that's called itself the +1 movement. It sounds like something I would give my dog because it's got worms. Anyway, take the pledge by bringing someone new to hunting this season. Learn more about the movement. I don't like this whole movement thing. I don't always get along with NSSF. That's probably why they don't sponsor me. But Let's Go Hunting. All right, I'm all right with that. Calling it a movement? No. Campaign? Yeah, okay. So NSSF and Let's Go Hunting USA. I must have started following Let's Go Hunting USA, which I think is just a campaign of NSSF, which is fine because that's what NSSF is about, facilitating collaborations to promote the industry and the community. So in this case, though, I got some issues. So we're going to start mansplaining again. American hunters founded the wildlife conservation movement. We did. And guess what? We're the only ones in the whole world that bothered with that shit. And we took the lead. And a bunch of tree huggers are trying to act like they had anything to do with it. Wake up. We could be taking this back from them. We, as gun owners, are hunters, right? And hunters did all this shit, not tree huggers. So why are we letting tree huggers take credit for shit that hunters did? Right? The core community is still driving much of the movement. Nah, that's bullshit. Tree huggers took over a bunch of it, and you let them, and that's government bureaucracy. So deal with it. Hunters did a lot of hard work. Hunters today hang out and live in it. They don't. Hunters today didn't do the work that the hunters that our parents and grandparents did. Period. Like they hunt in the grounds that were protected by them, but that's it. They may go out and lift some boulders or something once in a while, but I guarantee you it's not as many as the CCC did. You want to talk work? Let's talk the CCC. How come no one ever talks about that shit? Anyhow, recruitment and reaction hunters is essential. So let's quit making hunting boring, and let's quit excluding hunters from shit. Let's quit calling them FUDs, and let's quit acting like just because you figured out guns yesterday and you're scared of people, so you bought a gun for self-protection, that you figured out guns. You are barely a baby kindergartner of guns, and you don't know what you're going to do once you start learning about guns, and hunting might be one of the things you want to do. And guess what? Even if you don't, who cares? Because hunters don't bother anybody, and you don't have to bother them. So I think we've got a much bigger issue than recruitment, reactivation, and retention. That implies that hunters have to breed themselves, and that's bullshit. That's not the way it is. So hunting can be way bigger than this, and we only have this and GOA's weird half-ass version of hunting. So $10 million organization made a patch and sent some guy on a mission to hunting, make some videos or whatever. 10 million bucks. All right. They got lawsuits or whatever. NSSF, they don't have any money. I don't know where they get money. They get industry money, but they spend it on SHOT Show. So I don't know where they get off. Why aren't hunters doing this? We got a bunch of hunting organizations. They all worry about their own critters because they all got dwindling populations. Lots of opportunity here. Lots and lots of opportunity. As individuals, you can take these concerns to your gun shop and find out who in your gun shop is a hunter. Your gun shop could champion an organization. That organization with funding can then collaborate with other organizations and do bigger level stuff. We got to realize that we're the ones that are either watching this or participating in this. It's really one or the other. So recruitment, reactivation, and retention, obviously. But fuck this bullshit where we have to sit on bleachers and watch hunters do this and challenge them to do this. If we're interested in any of this, get in there and either be a hunter or support hunters. There's some shitty hunters and there's some awesome hunters. It's just like everything else. Then what are they starting with this 1+ movement bullshit? Leave that. I'm going to leave that and quit bitching. The next thing is the American conservation movement started the world's conservation movement and should be looked up to and should be championed. Gun owners can be sitting up there with a big freaking hunting rifle, big freaking optic sponsored by somebody. We all know who's sponsoring that one. And then, thankfully, because they're sponsoring some awesome shit. So, you know, I'm saying we can make this happen with capitalism, and we can take credit for the stuff that we've done. And we should be freaking proud that we've led an international campaign to save the critters on the planet, so that we can, you know, because it's like it says here, where does it say? Natural heritage. It's more than natural heritage. It's natural heritage that other countries wish they had. Some of them have it. Some of them are exploiting their resources and they're dwindling and they won't have it forever. What we have here is managed resources. Liberty is individual freedom together, right? We have individual freedom. That means some selfish son of a bitch is going to go out and kill every deer. But in liberty, that selfish son of a bitch knows that he lives with other people who also have that same ambition. So we all agree to work together towards maintaining populations. And when people abuse or change that, there's systems in place. Other countries don't have the opportunity to do that because they're so worried on their corrupt governments fleecing them that they've never had opportunity to provide this stuff. This country has been wealthy enough and had the opportunity to do that, and it's been hunters, gun owners who did all this stuff. They don't get the credit for it. They get shamed, they get mocked, and they get suggested that they don't know what's going on and that somehow they were at fault for recommending a revolver to your grandmother. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to quit ranting. NSSF does some good stuff. It does some bad stuff. If we're going to leave money on the table, which we are doing, hunting is one of the piles of cash we're leaving on the table. Am I getting texted? Probably somebody saying they want a bill. I don't know who this is. Next. All right, here's a good one. This is from a gun shop in Arizona, where you see people shooting off AKs into the sky all the time, but most sons of bitches will never show you why they're doing that. So here's what happens and why people do that. I'm going to pause so that it'll actually play smoother, hopefully. Not playing smoothly, but very rarely do people, they're probably scared shitless, so they're not even looking up, but very rarely do people appreciate why groups of people shoot AKs full auto into the air. And it's because when you shoot tracers full auto up into the air, they have hang time and they're still burning. So what you get is a light show, a really awesome light show that's awesome. So if you've never been at a kind of a orientation shoot or some sort of a public machine gun shoot where there's a heck of a lot of machine guns all shooting at the same time, all of that gunpowder and all that tracer burning, whatever chemical, and all the dirt that gets lodged up. I guess you don't smell the dirt when you're shooting straight in the air, but you know, the smells and the multi, what's the word? Like the multi-sensual whatever, it brings all your senses into play, and it's really interesting. You feel the guns going off, you hear the guns going off, you smell the guns going off, and then what you see lingers because the tracers happen quickly, but because they're happening, you're seeing them, and then they're watching the tracers go, and they turn into a crazy temporary light show in the sky. Yes, phosphorus. So again, whatever, and they're in the middle of the freaking desert, and the AK is their freaking gun. Like, so this is totally normal. Like, it's totally like I can understand the culture part of it. It's like you could see how it came out of this culture, and you don't see too many people that are doing anything more than mocking them or making fun of them shooting into the air. But pretty neat. And you know, if you got nothing else to do at somebody's wedding or something, and you're still alive, sensory. Thank you. You're still alive, like. Right on. So too bad we can't do that here. I guess you could do it with blanks. It wouldn't be quite the same. And that's probably why people don't do it with blanks very often. I mean, it's super dangerous or whatever, but when you live in the middle of the desert, oh well, don't hang out in the middle of the desert next to people having weddings, I guess, or miles away from people having weddings. Whatever, not justifying, or I'm not condoning it, but I'm also condoning it if you live in the middle of the desert and you're having a wedding, go for it. Here's Mike again. I'm going to go check this print while you listen to Mike.
That's true. Nobody does know beforehand if fight is survivable. But is it survivable based on skill or luck? If it's survivable based only on luck, then what are we training for? What are we practicing for? That's the whole point of the vehicle course that Pat and I teach. We don't teach fighting from the front seat. It's survivable with luck, but it's not survivable with skill. You just can't. You can't fight from in a box with limited mobility, limited situational awareness when the start signal is bullets come through your windshield. And so being survivable and winning are two different things. Surviving an ambush is just surviving an ambush. Yeah, it can happen. It happened for the LASO deputies outside the train station. It didn't happen for Galloway. Okay. Winning is a very different proposition. And the goal when we're training law enforcement officers, when Pat and I are, and Pat's still current, is for officers to win, not just to survive. Because survival, in a lot of cases, if you've ever been around dangerous shit, and I have, it's just a function of luck sometimes. And luck is not a plan. And luck is not a plan. So don't conflate winning and surviving. And if you think just surviving is winning, then we're just not the same person in any mental capacity. We're not alike. Because I don't look at just getting through as the same as winning.
Not much to say from that. That's mindset. We talk about training on Thursdays, and people ask, not me so much because I don't give that kind of advice, but when you hear the kind of advice about, or when you hear the question of what kind of training should I take, there's one of your qualifiers, there's one of your indicators. If people are training for unrealistic things versus training basics. Rebecca Schmoy again, talking about life has been busy lately. Recently, all of her jobs, paid and volunteer, banking, gun rights advocacy, candidate for Kansas House Representative, convened in one legislation through cooperation decision by the big banks to track gun-related purchases. Saying that I've been hitting this infringement on all possible fronts is an understatement. I need you to call your federal senators and congressmen today and tell them how upset you are about this. It won't get better until you get involved. Call your legislatures. And then, I don't know, she's complaining about the picture. Who cares? So the concept that she's a banker in real life, that she's an activist, and that she's running for House representatives in Kansas, and that this decision went through, is the one and only thing I've heard that makes me at all interested in it. And I'd rather talk to Rebecca before I agree with her. Because, I mean, obviously she knows what's going on, but I mean, we have more than one thing we could be calling our legislatures or representatives about, and I'm not suggesting you don't talk to them about that. But I am curious as to why she thinks it's such a big deal, because I've heard some people who are knowledgeable about it suggest that it's less of a big deal than the people who know nothing about it are insisting it is. So next we get the Outdoor Wire, which is the outdoor industry's daily transactions newsletter. So I don't know what that's all about, but DC Project message resonates on Capitol Hill. And then it's got this awesome picture of the ladies who showed up in DC for the DC Project's event this year in front of the Congress. No, in front of the, what is this thing called? The Supreme Court building. So they were originally supposed to meet in front of the Capitol, but for some reason the Capitol grass was all shut off. So they moved them, or they decided to move over to the Supreme Court. And I guess we'll have to try to do an after action. It would be awesome to hear the ladies do an after action. So I don't know if we're going to hear that or not. But that would be a question. Anyway, they have an awesome picture here where somebody got down and took a picture up at the ladies so that they look big. And there's the massive Supreme Court building behind them. And they fill the steps of that Supreme Court building. Of course, they should learn dress right dress and learn to stand at least an arm's length away from each other so that, one, they look more big because they are a lot of ladies there, but also so you have an opportunity to see each of the ladies. There's a reason you do a dress right dress. For presentation of a group of people. So done some mansplaining again and congratulated them. This is from Women in Arms. She's saying we had an incredibly successful and impactful trip to the Capitol this year. We are so proud of all the women that made the trip and helped to advocate for our Second Amendment rights. Read our press release to learn more. Oh, so there's a press release. I didn't even know about that. So let's go read this press release and learn more. DJ's not going to link it, so I'll link it right here. Mainly because he doesn't know what it is. So the DC Project message resonates on Capitol Hill. Now this is from 9/22/2022. This is pretty 2A. The DC Project, Women for gun rights, should be Women for Gun Owners' Rights, but whatever. Returned to Washington, D.C. September 13th through 16th to deliver its core message to Congress. The group's 51 delegates, so I guess more were expected to show up. So 51 showed up, representing 48 states, that's nice, met with legislatures from both sides of the aisle, advocating gun rights or human rights. Their effort concluded with a rally on the steps of the Supreme Court. DC Project founder Diana Mueller commented, "This was our fly in, and it was the most impactful trip we've experienced. We built bridges by sharing our personal and emotional stories of violence while emphasizing solutions to the firearms industry is spearheading in mental health, school safety, and firearms education. During the trip, Congressional Second Amendment Caucus, co-chaired by Lauren Burbert and Massey, hosted a reception. The DC Project presented its pillars and explained how legislators can partner with the group to provide more armor in the attacks on the Second Amendment. This organization of women is a game changer. For years, anti-gun women and politicians have demanded Congress strip away the rights of law-abiding gun owners. The DC Project provides a counter to their misinformation. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican from Georgia, stated, or maybe that's I don't know what that means. I guess Republican. In total, the delegates not only attended more than 135 meetings, so 51 ladies had 135 meetings, but made countless impressions across the city with personal interactions with residents and tourists. The DC Project anticipates continuing the momentum at individual state level. Learn how to support or join by becoming an effective Second Amendment advocate in your community and with your legislatures by visiting their website, dcproject.info. Follow them on the DC Project on, Stupid Book, Instagram, and Twitter, and visit our library, which isn't all that expensive, on YouTube. The DC Project is a nationwide organization of women committed to safeguarding the Second Amendment, a nonpartisan initiative of daughters, mothers, sisters that believe education is the key to firearm safety and violence prevention, not legislation. We counter the disinformation gun control groups circulate by informing our friends, families, communities, and legislatures with the truth that gun rights are human rights. It's a pretty good summary. I would probably make it more wordy, but they know what they're doing. So that's their summary. Pretty good. I'll take it. So that's why I read it. Next. Okay, so In Range is one of our friends that builds AKs. Mike, friend is his name, been building. He's invented the milled receivers in the United States, but then has been building for a long time since. This is a crank, so it's an AR or an AK rifle, but made on a crank kit. So that's a 16-inch barrel under a fake suppressor. So it looks like the Soviet suppressor on a Soviet crank with a folding stock, so that you don't have to deal with NFA garbage. It's still got a 16-inch barrel, so you can still have the folding stock. It's not a real suppressor, so it doesn't come off. It probably comes off, but the barrel would be underneath of it. So it's effectively just a big, long barrel shroud. And it gives you the effect of a crank with a suppressor. So an AKSU, AK something B. Anyway, I forget. But it's a suppressed crank. Anyway, pretty neat. And Mike does excellent repro work. So the finish and the engravings are going to be as detailed as the big view right here. Anyway, I was going to kick out of looking at when he does these. So Mike is one of the builders that does more traditional stuff. Like I say, he'll get the engravings and the finishes down to where it looks like it came out the factory or like it picked up off a battlefield, but like a legit military rifle. And he rarely strays from that. Went up and visited him in 12. Let's see. Just a reminder that obesity kills way more people than gun violence, but there's still no march to end obesity, which ironically would literally help end obesity. So that one's from somebody who I don't know what it is, but from Amaland. So I thought that was a good one. One, it's true. And two, it's a good message because it puts it in their face that they're worried about something that's very inconsequential compared to the good stuff. Let's see. New to DC, not total scum yet, but trying to do the right thing. We'll see, Let's see. When you need to secure something in a Ziploc type bag, but need more, this is the ticket. Heavy duty, keeps water out, and is durable. Uh-oh, I got a puppy locked outside. I use it to keep my cell phone in, and if I'm out fishing, and if I had one, I'd use it as, I have had one that I use often, and it has held up for the last 2 years. It looks a bit older, but works great. They are just the right thing to make small first aid kits, to make up small first aid kits with. So it's a poorly read review of Locksack. Another company that doesn't pay us nothing, but they're a cool company. Lady in Washington was a scuba diver and surfer, and was looking for a way to have a more secure vinyl, like a very, very heavy duty Ziploc, effectively, like a very heavy duty Ziploc, multiple, you use it for a long, long time type of Ziploc. And she used that to keep her wallet and phone. Well, I think her wallet dry. This was a long time ago. And then eventually, same thing with phones. You needed a way to keep phones dry. So she made these awesome bags, and then eventually SEAL started using them, and the rest is history. So they're made in the USA, very compliant, made by USA with USA materials, so that they can be given a number and sold to the military. And that makes them legit in my book. And she's also super cool. She's worked with USNER Doc in the past, and just a super cool lady. So I've known her since back in the day, and every once in a while we'll chat a little bit at SHOT Show. Watching their success and watching their company grow has been awesome. So every once in a while I'd like to go back and chat about one of the successes that are out there. Just cool people doing cool things. Definitely cross community also. I mean, they hang out, they go to SHOT Show, they hang out with SEALs and stuff, but they also hang out with fishermen and just regular people, surfers, and people that just go to the beach. Definitely water oriented for sure, fishermen and stuff. So that was just fun. Basically, that's the crink brake, an AKS or an AK-74 brake on a torch. But at first, you're expecting it to be some kind of full auto, massive rate of fire. And it's just a cool little video. This is Mark Krebs, another of the AK builders that I follow. And Mark was the one that created the kind of U.S. ergonomic AK situation back in the 90s that effectively all modern AKs follow now. I bet you they even ripped his stuff off in Russia. Then we got Gizzard, had posted that he got some stuff from Roll Call. So I didn't get any of these yet, or I didn't get them. I don't know if I'm getting any. But Roll Call sending out patches that he got made. Big ordeal getting those things made. And yeah, pretty cool. He's posting about it. It's always cool when people post when they get stuff from others. So that mainly, I can tell you, it's good to know that it gets there. Like Gizzard had just encountered a situation with some envelopes getting squirted open. Some of them robots that the post office uses will kind of squirt the envelope as it goes through. It kind of squishes it between rollers, and it'll literally squirt your patches out the one end, or anything you got in there. That's why they say don't put anything this wide in there, because it'll squish everything or squirt it out the end. It'll just be laying on the floor somewhere. So anyway, it's always good to know when stuff gets to where it's going. Definitely had some costly issues with things getting lost in the mail. So again, just letting you know, it's always cool when you can post when something gets to your end from wherever you get it. I mean, Amazon probably doesn't care, but regular people care a lot to know that this stuff got there. So Bannerman Castle, they've got the castle, but also this house up on the hill. So the island is basically a big hill out of the water. The castle is down at the water level where the warehouses were. So up at the top of the hill, they built a house where the family lived, or the family would summer there. They'd come down from New York and hang out on this island. This is back before any kind of electricity or anything like that. So they built it out of stone so that it would be comfortable. It's a couple of stories, and it kind of got built over the years. And again, he built it in the style of a castle. And it's just super, super awesome. And it's been, it's fallen apart because the state of New York is a bunch of assholes and they let it deteriorate. And then the Bannerman Trust has kind of helped put it back together. And this is a great picture of it. Some of the gardens that Bannerman's wife had near the house here are still going with some of the same flowers and stuff, which is kind of neat. And then it's just a great picture. So again, Instagram has actually started from pictures, and then there's definitely a lot of people that do the picture thing. So then Tactical Hub, or TAC Hub, is a company here in Arizona that does a bunch of different things. I follow them, and they've got a AR class, a class for building ARs. And while a lot of people are comfortable getting that knowledge from the internet or from friends or just winging it, some people would rather go to a class and learn it. There's a lot of advantages to that. A lot of what's the word? Like you can speed up your learning curve by learning from the experience of others, right? And then going to a class gives you an opportunity to learn at 4 times the rate, because you're going to experience 4 times the issues as you're there in real time. So as you're trying to insert the detent someplace and yours goes in fine, well, you don't know what could go wrong. And then the person across from you has one issue and the person over there has a different issue. Now you know 2 different things that can happen and how to correct them, and you never had to encounter them. Training is awesome. A bunch of people are scared to pay for it or don't value it and dismiss it. It's not true. Training's awesome. One of the ways you can tell if people are actually paying attention is how they value training. Then we got Serbu. Company often gets overlooked or taken for granted. That's the right word. They made the gun buyback 22, a very simple to create gun buyback firearm designed to be cheaper than what the gun buyback would offer you, so that you could make money at gun buybacks. How many other companies have done that? I don't know, but he's now talking about his new 3D printer and how he's playing with it. I mean, I find it hard to believe that Mark just barely got a 3D printer. If that's true, then holy moly. So look at that. So that's somebody who's infinitely familiar with milling and machinery. If you're not familiar with Serbu, that's the little Serbu from Miami Vice back in the day, that little short shotgun. And then however many other movies have had that little tiny short shotgun in it. So that's Serbu. He created that thing. And many other guns, I suppose, including this gun buyback one. So anyway, it's just super cool. And I can't believe that he hasn't had a 3D printer. So somebody who's been, in the realm and definitely active and aware, never got a 3D printer. I mean, the world's changing constantly. So don't assume and don't take things for granted, I guess is the take from this one. Plus, if you haven't heard about his gun buyback firearm, go check it out. It's pretty clever, pretty interesting. And again, it uses the internet and his voice and his attention that he gets from people, his reach, towards something useful, towards the idea that gun buybacks are silly and you can think outside the box. Everything about this is awesome. See how long it takes for my computers? I'm getting super weird lag. Sorry about the pauses here. It's because my computer's being really weird. There's a Freedom Festival, it turns out, in Warminster, Pennsylvania. Back in the day, we used to hear about things like this, but now I'm hearing about this from Dick Heller. So we got 2 Hellers in the gun community. Dick Heller is the Heller, like the Heller guy from the Heller decision, the Supreme Court Heller, and then Charles Heller is the Heller here in Tucson who does the radio show. They're no relation to each other. They just have the same last name, but just throwing that out there. So we're talking about Dick Heller, the one from Virginia, or from Washington, D.C., excuse me. And they're going to have a Freedom Festival in Pennsylvania on October 1st from 1 to 7 p.m. at the Warminster Community Park. And it looks like there's going to be some candidates for governor. So it's a political thing. Steve Williford from Texas, and a surprise guest. Is it barbecue? Guns and barbecue? We don't know. Maybe it's a surprise. All right, I don't know if I coughed in your ear right there. Sorry, my computer's being weird, and I may have coughed in your ear. So there's a Freedom Festival happening in Pennsylvania. Barron won a bunch of stuff on the tactical quiz, and then he bought stuff from the store. He bought that one patch in the middle there, the AK patch, but that gave me an opportunity to send him a bunch of stuff that he had won from the tactical quiz and throw some bonuses in there. So if you're not familiar, Barron co-hosts with Foss the overnight shows on Saturday. He also co-hosts the Wednesday night mouse parties, and he co-hosted the tactical quiz with me the other week. So he also had won a tactical quiz and wanted to say thanks, threw him a bunch of stuff, got a Guns and Barbecue sticker over to him. Not sure if he already had one. He got the first of the 3D printed bayonets. So those are available at their gear website store. If you're interested in supporting the stuff that we do, we sell stuff. Some of it's awesome, some of it's lame, but it's all for sale over at Gear Websites. Every time you buy something, it pays a little bit of our bills. And you know what we do? Continue to do what we're doing here. So I appreciate the people that support what we're doing. So thanks for posting the picture. Like I say, it's always cool to see people post. One, it gets the word out there, so it's like free marketing. Thank you. But it's also nice to know that the stuff got there in good shape. I know how I put the stuff in the envelope, so when I can see how it got to you, I know what worked and what didn't. So appreciate the effort and the participation. All right, this is FPC. I don't know. They're getting all upset because he says Kevlar deer. Here's the deal. If somebody is dangling a feather on a little string with a stick and they dangle it at you and you go, look at this feather on a stick. And then you got work to do and they keep dangling that feather on a stick, at some point you freaking get pissed. You're not their plaything. You're not there to be entertained and you're not there to be manipulated by them. So I don't get the fascination with the dude wiggling the feather on a stick. Be offended by this. Don't be giggling that there's a feather in front of you. The NAGA has the convention next year, and instead of just posting once or twice, pay attention to how the next national level organization is doing it. I'm just putting it that way, because there's no national level organization that's putting this much effort into doing it right. So here they are doing it right, letting you know that it's coming up in a year, letting you know that it's 4 days long, so you know what to plan for, getting you ready for it, giving you some prices and stuff, not farting around, like actually making effective posters. Next level. I don't know how many people are critically analyzing the stuff that's presented to them, but everybody has a decision when they send you information. And if the decision is to hook you on the first thing and give you all the actual content at the end so that they get a good watch time, they're worried about other things than just getting the information out. So I definitely want to say thanks to the organizations that are doing it. And whether they're just doing it wrong or whether they intentionally are bucking the recipe, either way, kudos, because they're not paying attention to the bullshit recipe and they're accomplishing more than anybody else is. Okay, next, talking about accomplishing more is the University of Arizona, the college, I guess, here in Tucson. It's a nerd school, but they have sports, and the sports teams are called the Wildcats. So our shooting team calls themselves the Wildcats, and they routed our local county range, the Southeast Regional Park. We call it SERP. That's where I used to volunteer for a long time. And they're out there. They had a tent out there, hopefully today, but yesterday, and selling their loot so that they could raise some cash for whatever they do. So hopefully the alumni are giving them good money also. So if you went to University of Arizona, like I did, hopefully you're giving them money because it's a shooting team, for crying out loud. But it sounds like they did. I kind of chatted with them and they said they had a good day. So hopefully that means they had a good day and they're not just being polite. This is from Gun Toting Pacifist. Caught a picture of somebody who shoots a CZ, just leaving it there. Some kind of llama with some sort of weird emo hairstyling going on. But that makes sense. You got Tony Simon. He blew off our Ask Gun Questions yesterday because he was at the CNJFO, the something of New Jersey firearms owners. Is it it's not the committee. I forget what it is, but the something of New Jersey firearms owners had a youth shooting day. And what do you know? Tony was over there volunteering along with those other volunteers and probably being a range safety officer or something like that. And then they're sitting there smoking cigars at the end of the day, enjoying their well-deserved time or break time after being 2A activists, boots on the ground. So Rhonda Ezel is from Chicago. She is often overlooked, even though she's taken the Supreme Court or taken City of Chicago to the Supreme Court and won twice. So we had the Heller decision, which said you can keep and bear arms. And that meant you could keep, own, right, and bear, carry around, possess, have with you arms. So then Chicago said, yeah, well, whatever. And then Miller took Chicago to court and said, hey, Illinois, that means you. And then Chicago is like, all right. but whatever. And then Ezel had to take Chicago to court, all the way to the Supreme Court, and say, yeah, Chicago, that means you. And then they went, yeah, whatever. And then Ezel took them back to court. And then they go, yeah, okay. So it's not like just because we win a Supreme Court decision, it's over. We win a Supreme Court decision and the Supreme Court has said we're right, but we still have to do the work. Ezel has done the work twice. Now Heller, he has the Heller organization. He's constantly over here. We've talked about him a couple of times today. He's putting in work. Miller has passed, or McDonald, excuse me. Am I saying Miller? I should have said McDonald. My bad. McDonald has passed, so he's passed. But Ezel, Rhonda, has created Chicago Guns Matter, and the organization Chicago Guns Matter is to encourage and motivate and people about, and give people insight as to how she accomplished taking the Supreme city. Oh, did I say shitty of Chicago? I should have said city of Chicago to Supreme Court twice. So instead of just doing it and walking around like she did it, she created Chicago Guns Matter as open source blueprint as to how she did it. So we've got superheroes out here that people don't want to talk about because it ain't cool, or they just don't know. They probably just don't know. So Rhonda Ezel, awesome. Once again, this is a post she posted. Congratulations, Delaware. Once again, Ezel versus City of Chicago strikes again as our case was cited in the victory, Rigby versus Jennings. So I guess I had heard somebody ask about Delaware the other day. So what happened in Delaware, it must have been good, and they referenced one of Rhonda's Supreme Court victories. So if people, here's one way you can ask people, if you find out, here's a litmus test. If somebody's 2A, they're like, oh, blah, 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 I'm so much in the game, blah, 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 I'm 2A. Go, hey, who's Rhonda Ezel? And then if they look at you stupid, you can just stop wasting your time. You've determined their 2A-ness. Next up is Pennsylvania. So you know what? Pennsylvania is acting like they're going to be the next constitutional carry state. And when you got a bunch of butthurt, losers who don't like that, they're going to lash out. They're going to get pissed. So that's what's happening. You got HB 2621, which is going to try to ban magazines, I guess, and the limit of shotgun rounds in a shotgun. And then, of course, let the police do whatever they want. So I like that FPC has a decent picture of an RPD, which is awesome. The first firearm ever designed for the 7.62x39 caliber. It's a belt-fed semi-auto. It's a really cool gun made before the SKS. Then, and a picture of this one, which is probably an Ohio ordinance, unless I'm wrong. Anyway, that's probably an Ohio-made gun, but still. They got this gun in the background. Instead of looking up somebody's eyeball or into their nostril or down their throat or something gross, looking at their cavities, you're looking at a cool gun. But it just says Pennsylvania HB 2621 bans standard capacity magazines and so forth. So speak up now. Hell yeah. And we'll get better. We have been good, and we will get better at understanding, knowing, and fighting for our brothers and sisters in other states. Once we as gun owners are fluid enough to be able to be capable of handling assaults at state level and at local levels effectively, they will realize there's no point in attacking us, and they will move on. They're attacking gun owners because we're divided and there's rifts that they can exploit. You remove their exploits and they move on to easier targets. These aren't experts. These aren't political superheroes that are working against us. These are very lazy individuals that suck, and they're going after obvious rifts. All we have to do is fix our rifts, educate the people that they're marketing to, and we're done. They leave us alone. The worst part then is the apathy. A bunch of people that weren't really in it will say, oh, good, whatever I didn't do worked, and we're over. And they're going to go back to buying whatever. The people who did all the work are not going to get any credit for it, and they're going to feel like they didn't get enough credit for it, and they're going to quit. Sorry, that's going to happen. And then you're going to get some people who, stick through and try to keep everything going. So it's our goal to, during that time of apathy, it would be to our advantage to figure out a system that brings the knowledge through the time of disinterest. All right, now that everybody's completely been mansplained to, this is one of the last pictures. Again, that guy who made the Uzi, I sent him some of our stuff, and he's been taking pictures of it, and I totally dig. He took some of the old West cards, and I knew he had some of these old. I don't think he makes these. I think he gets them, but they're pretty neat little replicas. Stay tuned for tiny lever actions. It's something that I'm interested in, and I've been. We're not only going to live forever. So at some point, I'm not going to make a living doing 2A stuff. I'll have to start doing other stuff. So stay tuned for tiny lever actions. Just saying, might happen, might be a thing. Besides that, though, I think that's the end of today's list. Thanks for showing up and listening to some mansplaining about what's happening on Instagram. This is to take the information from Instagram and spread it around the rest of the platforms. It's to get the information, the content out to different human beings' ears. So thanks to those who are interested in that. And then give us some feedback. Let us know if you're out there. We got the people over here on YouTube, and we don't know about the people who are out there in the future. So present, easy. Past, nobody cares about. Future, nobody knows about it until you decide to go back over where you heard this from and type something in there. Let's go back to the poll. Instagram versus YouTube. Who wins? According to this poll, YouTube is going to beat up Instagram this week. Being a tie and Instagram winning is not likely. Both of them losing is fairly likely. So either YouTube's going to win in the fight or they're both going to lose. So I'm curious to hear how people think they're both going to lose, but whatever. All right. With that, I guess we'll wrap it up. I do have a chat a little bit later on today with M13. So if you're interested in AKs, check it out. If you're interested in the concept of recreational machine gun shooting in Las Vegas, check it out, because this is one of the gunsmiths. How am I going to get to my own future live video? This is one of the gunsmiths that maintains and creates firearms for the recreational machine gun industry in Nevada. So there's people that come from around the world to shoot machine guns. Those guns get shot more than any other guns on the planet, I'd wager, because it's Vegas after all, I'd wager. But this is one of the gunsmiths who's top in his class for maintaining those full auto guns and also putting together people's kit guns. So I kind of mentioned a couple other AK builders that I've known since, I guess, 2004 is when I started getting into the building and stuff. And over the years, I paid attention. I have respect for a lot of them, and I have no respect for some of them. And this is one that I've really dug what he's able to do and the way that he shares it and the fun that he has with the community as he does. So, anybody can be a perfect, whatever, do something perfectly. But if you're an a-hole or you don't do it right, or you do it by yourself, then what good is it, right? So if you're awesome and you're able to participate and be like a big part of the evolution, then that's even more cool. And that's what we're looking at, and we're going to be talking about this afternoon. So it looks like that's in 4 hours, wherever the heck you might be. If you're listening to this live, 4 hours from now, that happens. But the other thing I look at is, before we end this show, is the stuff that's about to happen live. So Michael Cargill is already live. That is the Come and Talk It radio show out of Austin. That's a radio show that broadcasts. They're broadcast on Sunday afternoons like this, and they'll go live on YouTube while it's happening. Then there's this show, of course. We got Locked and Loaded Latinos is coming up in an hour. And then I don't see where it is, but shouldn't Polite Society Podcast also be up here? So there it is. Polite Society Podcast will be broadcasting Eye on the Target Radio. Amanda and her brother host a show that is the first. This is what happens when you watch the two shows at the same time. Okay, so Amanda and her brother host the first female-hosted firearms radio show that's nationally syndicated. That's this link. And then, again, Michael Cargill hosts his Come and Talk It radio show, which is the gun shop in Austin. And again, both of these shows are broadcasting live. I'm corking them right now, which is when you intentionally, with knowing, broadcast stream right on top of the time slot of another valid show that owns the time slot. But what are they going to do? Sue me? So I'm going to link to them both and recommend that you check them both out. I like to listen to both at the same time. Usually I'm going to go through and turn my videos into audios and then shove those audios up onto the podcasting. I do all that kind of task work while I listen to these shows. If you're interested, check them out. A lot of them, both of them, people chat on the Eye on the Target radio. They'll even take the chats and incorporate them into the show often. Once this is over, check out Locked and Loaded Latinos. They have an awesome series that they do each Sunday and focused on news of the day and Second Amendment. Of course, now it's turning into video games and drones, but it's neat to see the evolution of some of these projects. Hopefully the 2A stays a big part of it. And then lastly, you've got a third radio show, a fourth show today, but a third radio show that'll happen out of California called Gun Owners Radio, another one that's worth your time. A 2-hour show that is broadcast is broadcasting live as they stream, and they'll pay attention to the stream, but you never really get onto the show through the stream. So 3 great shows. They all happen on Sunday afternoons, and then the Locked and Loaded podcast, which is consistently one of the best 2A things you can watch live each week. After all that, hang out and chat with AK Builder at a level like no other. And then tomorrow we bring all the people that we've interviewed throughout the month together and have an all-out fight. They're going to make them fight each other, except verbally, and we're all going to be talking about 2A. So it's maybe not a fight as much as a round table about 2A. That'll be tomorrow night. Tuesday, the auction comes up for our Yugo parts kit. If you know people that are interested in buying a parts kit, please send them over. That's how I am attempting to make do for the lack of funding this year. So I got a crazy year going on, so selling a bunch of stuff. One of those will go up on Pot of Gold auction on Tuesday. We'll do a preview of that auction. There's also quite a bit of cool stuff happening on that auction on Tuesday. The rest of the week is the rest of the Daily Gun Show. So we'll quit talking about it and let you experience that as it happens. Have a good one. Thanks again for showing up live. If you're listening to this in the future, have a great week. We'll end it with a commercial for our store, which is one of the ways that we stay able to do this with a focus on 2A and not a focus on how to manipulate you into buying something. So how about you buy something? GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Tonight's episode, Murder by the Numbers.
So let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourages you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!